Okay, so we have a couple of new commands to go over today. Um, who can remind me what a isometric drawing is? Isometric. Yeah, so it's kind of a 3D looking diagram here. So if you guys want to follow along, I'll show you how to do this. So the first thing we need to do is make a few modifications to our grid. So I'm just going to right grid on our grid here and go to settings. And we want to make sure that we don't have any check marks here. We want to have our dot grid in 2D model space, which is just a visual aid for us. And then here where it says grid snap, normally have this on rectangular. We're going to change this to isometric. And it'll throw in a bunch of numbers here, which is all fine. I'm going to leave my snap off here for the moment. So you can see now we have a much different looking grid here. I can see too our cursor kind of has a slant to it. And so what this is we're currently now drawing on one of our, this would be our left side. But why don't we start by changing to the top plane. So the command for that is isoplane. So isoplane, and then by doing that, you can see it's asking me for three options. I have left, top, or right. So I'm going to start with the top. And now you can see my cursor looks a little bit more like a X. And I'm going to take my line tool. And I'm going to turn on our ortho mode. So now normally in our ortho mode, we could only draw lines up and down and left and right. But now in ortho mode, you can see it's just snapping to the same dimensions as our cursor. So I'm going to start by just going, I'll go 30 here, and then 30, and then 30, and then I'm just going to hit C to close my shape here. So you can see that I've went to draw a square, but it's looking more like a, what is that, a trapezoid or something? Diamond? Diamond, sorry. Brush up on my geometry. So now I want to draw my left side of the box. So I'm going to change my isoplane again, this time to left. And I'll start by my line tool. I'm in my line tool again. I'm going to snap to this point, and now I'm going to go down 30. I'm going to go to the right 30, and then back up 30. So now I've drawn another square, but in our left plane. Now run my isoplane command again, and this time I'm going to go to the right. Run my line tool again, and I'm snapping to my bottom here. We're going to go 30 again, and then I'll snap to my top point. And now I have a cube. So quick, easy way of creating three-dimensional objects. Now, for today's assignment, you'll notice that we have some cylinder-looking objects. And our regular circle command is actually just going to draw regular circles, so we don't have our 3D effect with that. So instead, what we need to do is draw an ellipse. So I'm going to run my ellipse command. And we'll notice when we run our ellipse command, it's giving me the option of either arc, center, or isocircle. So an isocircle is an isometric circle. So I'm going to launch that command by simply hitting I. Let's try that again. So I've manually typed in my ellipse command, and now I'm going to hit I for ISO circle. And then now it's asking me for the center of my ISO circle. So I'm going to click a center just as I were. So I'm going to put my circle right in here. So I'm going to kind of guess where the center is. And then now it's asking me for the radius of my ISO circle or my diameter. So normally when we drew ellipses, we did like a radius and then an offset or something to make it. But an ISO circle, all we do is just like drawing a circle. We do a center point and then either a radius or a diameter. So I'm going to do a diameter because I know my sides are 30. So I'm going to go 25, my diameter. And now it's drawn what looks like a hole. Let's center a little bit better here. What looks like a hole perfectly placed in my box. And we have to use ISO circle for this because if I use the circle command, try to do the same thing, you can see that doesn't look like a hole, properly placed hole in my box. So I'd have to go isoplane. I'm going to go to my right side, run an ellipse. It's an isometric ellipse. Oops. I go to my left side, did I? There we go. So run my ellipse, isometric, picking my center point, and then I'm just going to draw it like so. So if I want to create a cylinder right here, I'm going to go back to my isoplane. I'm going to go to top. I'm going to do my ellipse, select the isometric option. Pick my center point, I'll draw my top of it, and then I'll take this, let's see if I can offset this. So say I'm going to offset this straight down here. Wrong command to use. All right, I'm going to do just a copy, and I'm going to so I want the bottom of my cylinder to go in place. So what I'm going to do here is manually punch in how tall my cylinder is. So we'll say this is 50, and then I'm manually going to punch in my dimension or my angle here of 270, which would give me a straight down position there. So I have my top of my cylinder, bottom of the cylinder. Now I can just take my line tool and I can snap to my quadrants of my ellipse, and then just run my trim command and trim up if it were a solid cylinder, like so. So we've got our isoplane, which allows us to choose which plane of our 3 planes that we're drawing in. And then we run our ellipse command, and then I for our isometric option in order to draw ellipses that look like circles in the planes that I'm drawing them in. It's a little tricky, but I think just by doing it, you guys will be able to figure it out.
What did you do for the sides again?
What I did when drawing the sides, I just did my line tool, and then I can actually snap to quadrants. So the quadrant is my furthest left point here, so I get the little diamond, and I just went from my top quadrant down to my bottom quadrant. And then I just trimmed, I just trimmed the back here to simulate a solid sphere. Okay, any other questions? Good luck.